Hi ladies, welcome to this week's video. You've got a lot of questions. I've got a lot of answers. I went through all the questions on both Instagram and Facebook, and what I looked for was overlap. Where am I seeing a consensus of questions? Or if somebody asked a question, where am I seeing 15 and 30 likes to that question? So what I did was I went through everything, I compiled my list, and I'm ready to go. And I've even put things in categories and subcategories because you would expect nothing less of me. I am going to start off with the first category, which is very topical and very emotional and raw for a lot of people right now, and that is managing the current pandemic that we're in. So the first question is by Christiane Gonzalez. How do you keep your cool with some of the stories that you cover on the news? It's a great question. For me, to be totally honest and transparent, it hasn't been easy. That's why I decided to take my 2-week vacation now, when I did. I'm recording this video on a staycation. This is the time of year when my family and I usually travel to France to see other family, but that wasn't in the cards this year. And we just decided to stay home, that there was still a lot going on. My husband had a lot of work to do. So I've been home for 2 weeks, and I stayed home with the intent of completely unplugging from news content, which I know is so counterintuitive for somebody working in the news industry to say they're not watching news. But for a human and my mental health and mental state, I needed to unplug from all of that because 2020 has been exhausting, as you know. There has been so much to handle, manage, and process, not just in our own personal lives, but also what we're seeing. So it's incredibly difficult. It's my job to maintain my cool when I'm on air, when I'm anchoring, when I'm reporting and putting together the news. It's my job to maintain that the stories are factually correct, that there's balance in the story. It doesn't mean that I don't take a part of it home with me. And this year has been tougher than most, so I granted myself my 2 weeks off. I gave myself the grace to stay home and to not feel bad about it. The next question is from Renee Phillips. How do you stay motivated and keep marching forward, achieving things, especially now? I'm trying to figure out how to live fully in the time of isolation and limitation. How do we refocus to find our new joy? You just said the right word there, refocus. It is a cognizant shift to pull away from this gravitational pull to kind of suck you dry of energy, focus, drive, and vision, to refocus. It is a conscious effort. It's like looking through life through a camera lens. What are you going to choose to focus on? When we look through a lens, we can decide to focus on the person in the image, or we can choose to bypass the human and focus on the background or the foreground. But as the person who's operating that camera, we get to determine where the focus lies. That's something that you might need to do in your life right now. Where do you want to place your focus? Is that focus on you? Is it self-care in the moment? Is that focus on your child or children's well-being and adjustment through the moment? Is that focus on a shift in career, or a shift in having to be a caretaker, or what does that look like for you now? And again, what is it that you can control in the moment? That's what you should focus on. Keep your eye, keep your lens sharp on what it is that you can control. Next question is from Renfrity, I think. Renafity. What advice would you give to younger people who think this pandemic ruined their future? Well, the first thing I would say is let's not talk future yet. Let's just talk about the now. What the pandemic did to the younger generation, especially our graduating seniors in both the high school and the college level, yeah, it completely shook the tree and changed things up. Pomp and circumstance and tradition and celebration as we usually see it did not take place. So there's the processing of that and what happened in the moment. And yes, there should be a space for anger, frustration, grief, a sense of loss, that all of that was robbed for them in the moment. They should be allowed to express that. They should be encouraged to communicate that and what it feels like, and to talk amongst their peers as well, and then to try to find ways to remedy that. Look for those small victories. You know, if it's a Zoom party that you're having with your classmates who graduated, or whatever it is, to work within our confines, find a way to do it so that you can find, A, that you were creative and you tried something new and different to recreate that sense of celebration, that sense of joy and sense of hitting a milestone. And then B, future. Well, what is the future? Tomorrow is the future. A week is the future. A month, a year. I am not for 1 second going to try to attempt to tell you what the next months or years are going to look like. So once you stop trying to prognosticate how all of that is going to shape out, then you're doing yourself a great service, because you're keeping yourself in the now and you're keeping yourself in an area that you can manage and control. You know, there are so many unusual outcomes that could potentially happen. I mean, for instance, one of the greatest concerns from students is, oh, will I be able to go back to school in the fall? Will they allow classes? What will that look like? Will some of us be in class, some of us be at home? I don't know. And we're going to cross that bridge when we get there. But all I know is that in what has happened, we have all learned to live differently. Companies have learned to live and manage with employees at home. Employees have actually learned to live and manage, and actually many have found an appreciation and are seeing the asset of working out of the home. So is the work model going to change because of this? Is the school model going to change because of this? Are colleges now going to open up online learning as a part of student entrance? And maybe will there be a lower or discounted tuition rate for students who choose to attend a school but only online? Who knows? So in thinking that this ruined the future, I would hate to say that. My faith in God tells me that it won't, that we will learn to adapt and we will learn to make the best out of every situation and come out better in the end. So please keep your mind's eye right in the moment and take care of yourself in that moment. The next one is by Coralie. I need to watch the therapy video, playing catch up. I need to watch that video. Enough said. Okay, if you haven't seen that video that I shot a couple of weeks ago with my dear friend Karen Winston, who's a psychotherapist out of Houston, it literally is a free 1-hour therapy session to deal with 2020. If you can find an hour in your day and you feel that you're struggling with a lot of these big picture questions, and we talk about everything from our students to the parents, to people who've lost jobs, to people who have lost parents through this, or having to be caretakers of parents who they can't see, or grandparents who don't have access to grandchildren. We tackle it all. So I really, really encourage you to get to that video. I will provide a link in the description portion of this one. In fact, any resource that I mention, whether it is a video link or a book or whatever, I will provide links for you in the description portion, so you can go there and then after this video click on to whatever it is that you need to find. Okay, so the next set of questions deal with health and menopause, and there's a lot of overlap here. So I'm going to launch in. The first one's a health question. What is a good way to get started on intermittent fasting, and how do you stick with it? So intermittent fasting is something that I've been practicing for a while, and it happened sort of accidentally because I've never been a huge breakfast eater. So I could easily bypass breakfast and move on to brunch or lunch, but I was curious about the health benefits of doing that, and I've read a lot about intermittent fasting, what it does for your metabolism, what it does for the fat stores, glycogen, insulin. It's fantastic for the brain. It's fantastic for the body. You know, when you think about primitive man didn't sit there and have breakfast, lunch, and dinner and snacks in between. Primitive man ate when there was a beast to catch or a garden to harvest. So there would be periods of time in between meals, long periods sometimes, before man ate again. Turns turns out it's a very healthy way to live. So research intermittent fasting so you can learn more about it. For me, the best way to do it is to take advantage of your nighttime sleeping time because you're not hungry when you're sleeping. In my case, if my last meal is at 7 p.m. and I go now until the next day at 11 p.m. or 12, I've just given myself a full 18 or so hours of fasting. And that's sort of the magic window, 16 to 18 hours to go between your meals. So see if you can do that. And the best way to do it is, let's say you eat dinner, but you wake up in the morning and you're really hungry for breakfast. You're just, voracious in the morning. Well, see if you can wait, push it an hour and go a week, and then push it an hour and go a week. And then before you know it, it's 9 o'clock and 10 o'clock, and suddenly you're resetting your body and you're resetting your body's appetite to get used to this longer delay in eating. And see how long it takes for you to get to that magic 16 to 18 hour window. And trust me, once you get there, that's it. It just becomes a way of life. You get up in the morning, you're not hungry, and I don't even think twice about it. Okay, the next one is, has your vitamin and supplement routine changed, or is it the same as it was from your video a while back? So this subject also ties into health, wellness, and COVID. I have always been a firm believer in the power of supplementation and immunity boosting supplements. There are certain constants that you will see as I present each supplement that I use that were mentioned in that previous video. But in terms of boosting my immunity to be able to prevent a virus, these are the things, these are the staples in my supplement pantry that I will always take. The first one is vitamin D3, 5,000 IUs of vitamin D3. I take 2 of those a day, so I'm taking 10,000. It's for bone health, immune support, and healthy muscle function. So I do 10,000 a day. Now, mind you, I also have my blood serum measured because you want to make sure you don't overdo it with vitamin D. But here's the thing: most people are vitamin D deficient in this country because most people do not get adequate sun exposure anymore to get vitamin D levels high enough in their system. So on average, pretty much everybody needs to supplement with a vitamin D supplement. Get a good blood panel, see where you are right now. But I do 10,000 IUs a day. Vitamin D must be combined with vitamin K. This is vitamin K triple play, which helps build strong bones, supports a healthy heart, K1 and K2. And my vitamin K is 550 mcg. I'm not going to promote any particular brand because I don't think it's necessary. Look for quality, look for organic, look for how it's sourced. You can do all of that research online, but vitamin D and vitamin K go hand in hand. The next one is vitamin C, again for immune support, liposomal vitamin C. This is 1,200 milligrams per serving, and this is something that I take from anywhere from 2 of these to 6 of these. For instance, if you are an allergy sufferer, a healthy dose of vitamin C can really help keep your allergies at bay. Minimum, I take 2 of these a day, and if needed, I can go up to 6. The D, the K, the vitamin C, and then important, very important, is zinc and magnesium. This is Rucha high potency magnesium and zinc complex, biologically available form of magnesium and zinc. So my magnesium is 133 milligram, my zinc is 5 milligram. Those 4 right there for immune health. Period. That's my arsenal, whether it's coronavirus or the seasonal flu or a standard cold. All of that is in my system no matter what. What I will add to that too, digestion and probiotics. So for that I've got Digest Well. It's a broad spectrum enzyme probiotic and herbal formula. Next up is Pure B Complex. It's got thiamine, riboflavin, niacin, vitamin B6, folate, B12, biotin. B is really good for mood support as well. And then I also will supplement with iodoral. And this is really important for my thyroid and thyroid support. There you have it. These are my these are my no matter what supplements. Sorry, I've got sunglasses, but they're also prescriptions, so I need them so I can read. They were the first things I found. I'm really not trying to look all that cool. The next question is, it seems you've lost some weight lately, and I'm struggling so much with my weight since menopause. Oh, are we going to talk about menopause? I would love some clue to lose 25 pounds. Thank you so much. Okay. Menopause, all right, but before I get into menopause, let's just state that at this age, everything gets harder, okay? Everything gets harder. Your goal may have stayed the same. Your effort to get that goal, that hill is getting steeper and steeper. It just means you have to work harder and you have to work smarter. Losing weight at this age and stage is multi-pronged. There is no one cure-all to get you to drop the pounds. First thing that you have to do is get some rest. If you're not getting enough sleep, your body is going to hold on to weight like you wouldn't imagine. Sleep is critical. You say to me, I can't get any sleep. My hormones are keeping me up at night. We're going to talk about hormones in just a second, but I am sitting here telling you the power of rest in terms of your mood and in terms of your mind and your body, the power of rest, number one. Number two, how you eat. How you eat and how much you eat is everything. If you haven't at this point started gravitating to the perimeter of the grocery store and staying out of the aisles, I am going to encourage you to do that. You cannot get enough fresh produce. You simply cannot. If you were to chop up every vegetable and throw it in a salad and make a heap of salad, you cannot eat enough of that in a day. Lean, healthy, organically sourced, farm-raised protein is everything. Your healthy fats, you've got to have fat in your diet. Nuts, avocados, certain oils. Imperative, because you're cutting the simple carbohydrates out of your diet. Vegetables, by the way, are complex carbohydrates. It's great. It takes the body a little bit longer. It's a little harder to break down. Simple carbohydrates, the things that you don't want in your diet, would be things like flour and sugar and dairy and, pasta and rice and all of those, the whites that everybody says, alcohol. These are the things that sabotage your ability to lose weight. They raise your insulin levels. They will keep the fat on you. There's no other way around it. You got to eat lean and clean. You just have to make a commitment to that lifestyle until you get used to doing it. Not to say you won't have a cheat day or you won't have, a pizza every once in a while, but that's the key. Every once in a while. I want the rest of it to be your way of being. So the food that you put in is everything in terms of how your body's going to respond. Next is exercise. What type of exercise are you doing? I'm a huge believer in high intensity training, which means I don't believe in running for an hour or doing an hour-long class. I don't think that's necessary. But if you were to do, let's say you do normally 20 minutes or 30 minutes on a treadmill, and if you were to include in that a really, really steep incline, I'm not even talking about running or doing any kind of impact on the knees, do a steep incline and let go of those rails and power your way up that hill. Wait till you feel how your heart is pounding and leaping out of your chest. Doing intensity and interval training 6 to 8 times, meaning you're doing 30 seconds or a minute on and then 30 seconds or a minute off, back and forth about 6 to 8 times, you have just kicked up your ability to burn fat in a huge way. The other thing that I love to do is, I've really gotten into yoga for a multitude of reasons. I like using my body weight for strength training, but I also like the quiet and the calm that I'm getting on my mat. So I find that while I'm getting an intense physical exertion, because I do hot yoga, so at the end of the class I'm dripping wet, I've gotten a great cardio workout because it's a flow class, keeps me moving. But at the same time, I carved out an enormous amount of quiet and space for my head. And I also focused on my breathing, and that's everything. So at the end of a class, I feel physically whipped and yet mentally and emotionally and spiritually charged. It is such a fabulous and interesting parallel that's working there, which is why I love my yoga class so much. That's my, multi-pronged approach of getting rest, hormonal balance, which now leads into the next question. Please give me insight on your journey with hormone replacement therapy. I've been on the estrogen patch for 3 months. So far, so good, but curious about what your thoughts are. Any unwanted side effects, pros, cons, etc. For me, it has improved the quality of my life immensely. Because of you, I started following Menopause Barbie, and listening to her convinced me I should give HRT a try, and I'm grateful I did. Hormone replacement therapy is purely an individual walk. We all have different backgrounds, health concerns, needs, and so my walk won't be your walk, but here is my walk, and I'm happy to share it with you. My hormone replacement therapy journey actually began in my 30s. I was diagnosed with hypothyroidism, very sluggish thyroid. I had all the symptoms: dry skin, dry hair, dry nails, sleepy. I would yawn throughout the day. I'd get 8-9 hours of sleep and I'm yawning. I'm so fatigued. What's going on? So I finally go into a wellness practitioner. They do a full blood panel on me, and sure enough, my thyroid levels were low. So I started supplementing with bioidentical thyroid, compounded thyroid, and I do a T4, T3 uptake of thyroid that is made in a compounding pharmacy. I have been on this since like I said, my mid to late 30s. So I got my thyroid balanced, and immediately it gave me energy. It also enabled my weight loss to happen, because I, in my earlier years, struggled with that and held on to weight. Sure enough, sluggish thyroid has a lot to do with that. So get your thyroid in check if it's not. And make sure that you find a practitioner that will really listen to you. It's important to do an extensive blood panel. It may also mean saliva testing as well to find out how accurate your reads are. But you need to find a practitioner that's not going to help you just based on your numbers, but based on how you're feeling and performing. Super critical. So I can't say that enough. So then as time went by, and I hit perimenopause, I started to notice that I was struggling with sleep. It was like clockwork. I would not get hot flashes during the day, but at nighttime I would drive home from work, and literally by 11 o'clock at night, clockwork, I would in my car break out in this sweat. And then I would go to bed, and it was this pattern of getting up every couple of hours and peeing and then being hot. And so I found that I was up every 2 to 3 hours in the middle of the night. I was not getting good quality rest. So in came the progesterone, and it started off low in my 40s, and I eventually bumped my way up. So now I am on 100 milligrams of compounded progesterone, and then the estrogen equation. And so the estrogen is what is really helping with the hot flash issue. So there are many different delivery systems. There are creams, there are patches, there are the pellets that can be inserted. I'm currently on the estradiol twice weekly 0.75 patch, and it was getting my estrogen number in the right spot that completely eliminated the hot flashes and the night sweats for me. So now, and also progesterone at night, especially at 100 milligrams, some women take 200 milligrams. That also helps to calm you down and helps with rest. So finding that perfect hormonal balance is a dance, and it's a dance that we all have to learn and figure out, and it changes just as our bodies change. When I'm now postmenopausal. I stopped getting a period at 51 and I'm 53. So as I was going through all of that, my needs were constantly changing. Don't get frustrated, don't stop, and just keep seeking what it is that your body needs and responds to. But it's with an open-minded health and wellness practitioner, doctor, who will help walk you through all of this. Do your research, and then listen to your body. And if it's telling you something, go respond to it. So that's my HRT journey, and that's where I am right now, and I'm happy to say I feel super. I feel great. Next question from Kelly. I know you utilize bioidentical hormones. I'm wondering if you take anything specifically for sleep. I've tried melatonin and magnesium with marginal help. I work 12-hour shifts as a nurse in the emergency room, and when I don't sleep the night before, it's awful. Bless your heart. I can only imagine. And shift workers, boy, it's so tough to get your body into some kind of a pattern and some sense of normalcy. So as I mentioned earlier, the progesterone does help to calm things down at night. I too take melatonin, and I've got two different ones here. I've got melatonin at 10 milligram, and then I've got melatonin and 5-HTP. It's got B6 in it as well. B complex also helps to relax. 5-HTP is 50 milligrams. The melatonin in this is 6 milligrams. I find for the most part, my melatonin with my progesterone at night is enough to calm me down. Another thing to help me with rest is I've got to unplug from anything digital. I have to get the blue light out of my room. I've got to stop watching TV. It's tough when you're binge watching series and you're waiting for the next episode of Billions to come out or whatever it is, and you're addicted to the TV, and the stimulation from the episode, it's really hard to wind down from that. So get yourself some separation from that. Pick up a really good book. To me, reading is a great relaxer before going to bed. And I also love the fact that you're feeding your brain with some really good information, or maybe it's transporting you in a story. Those things have been very helpful for me. If you're ever in a pinch, and I did go through a period in my life where nothing was helping me and I wasn't getting any sleep, I was just feeling overwhelmed, and of course it was this year, 2020, with all this crazy work and stuff. My doctor did prescribe a prescription clonazepam, 2 milligram, and this is something I use infrequently, and when I do, I take it and I break it in half, so it's only 1 milligram. And that's if I'm just having a really tough time, or I know I've got a big day and I've got to get some rest, I might resort to that. But I really try to stay away from pharmaceuticals as best as I possibly can. Okay, so the next segment now is beauty and aging. And this question comes from Angie. You have no wrinkles and your skin is absolutely beautiful. Thank you, by the way. What is your skincare routine and how do you look so youthful? Thank you. Angie, have you seen my mother? There is no denying the role of genetics in how our skin ages. Flat out. It's not to say that you will be your mother, but you can certainly look at how she aged to see a roadmap of how you will age. I have been blessed. My mother has incredible skin. If I told you her age, I would have to peel you off of the floor. You wouldn't believe me. It's not to say that there aren't things that we can do to help the process, slow it down, possibly reverse it. There are. So let's get into what we can control. I was told long ago, when I was in my 30s, by a plastic surgeon friend of mine, that if I were to start using Botox only twice a year, every 6 months, that I would prevent a lot of wrinkling from settling in on my face. Because let's talk about the difference first of what Botox is versus filler. Botox is botulism. It is a paralyzer, paralyzes the muscles. Where is Botox used? Botox is used on the forehead, the furrow here in between the brows. It's used around the eye area. It's not a plumper. It doesn't plump cheeks, doesn't do any of that. It's not a filler for here, it's a relaxer. So the areas, when you move your face and you squint and smile, these are the ones where the muscles are the strongest, right? So forehead, eyes, but there are also additional uses in the face. The wrinkling of the chin that makes kind of that orange peel look. They can apply Botox there to soften that and smooth the skin out. I've used Botox not only on my forehead and my eyes, I've also used it in the masseter muscle. That is the muscle right here above your jawline. And the reason why I do that is that I grind my teeth at night, and that's caused TMJ for me. So I sometimes have very painful jaws, my jaw snaps, the muscle's very sore. Applying Botox into the masseter muscle eases that pain, relaxes that muscle, and it's not so difficult for me. There's an added benefit of actually doing that because it kind of flattens the side of your face a little bit if you've got a very wide jawline. The other area where they're using Botox with a lot of good results is the neck area. I think there's a question in there about that. I'll address it now. I have done Botox in my neck area. I call them the chicken bands. I'm like, will you get rid of my chicken bands? But it's on the strings that start to form in the neck that protrude. They can hit with Botox and get those to recede. There's a new technique that they're using. Instead of just hitting a couple of bands, they're actually hitting the entire neck area with very, very small doses of Botox. So tiny, tiny little pricks and little hits of Botox all around the neck softens the entire neck area and gets it to relax and stops all of the banding and the protruding. So numerous ways that Botox can be used, not to mention medicinally for migraine headaches and things like that. So it's a paralyzer. Then there are fillers. Fillers are things that plump up, that wherever you've lost volume, you can then regain volume. So things like Restylane and Juvederm are some of the products that are on the market. Where do people use fillers? People will fill areas where they've lost volume, the cheekbone area, or next to the eye area to give a little bit of a lift, or where the lines start to get really deep, right here on the smile lines on the side of the mouth, or the nasal folds. So that's where most people will get filler in their face. Oh, and under the eye, how can I forget? And we're going to talk about that because I have a lot of question about the eye area, but a lot of people will also fill underneath the eye to get rid of the recesses. So when it comes to aging, these are the types of things that you can do to certainly slow down the process. And in the case of starting Botox early, because you're not allowing the muscle to take over and to create that wrinkle, you're actually preventing wrinkling from happening later on in life. Next question, and we're going to get into the eyes. I'm 55, I've got dark circles under my eyes. I've tried color correctors, several concealer products you recommended, nothing helps. I clearly need something sadly more expensive, something in the Botox filler direction, but I have no idea where to go, who to talk to, etc. I'd love your help. Okay, so dark circles. Dark circles and bags, two completely different things. Dark circles, we lose as we age, we lose collagen underneath our eye. So that dark circle is basically a lack of collagen and the skin gets thinner. And what happens is you're starting to see now the veins and the capillaries and everything underneath the skin more closely. So it's showing through the thinner skin, and that's why you're able to see dark circles. There are brightening serums and creams and vitamin C, things like that. These are all real quick topical fixes, and they can help a bit. The biggest help in terms of those circles is in fact filler under the eye. No question, because it's a loss of firmness and plumpness. So the minute that they use a filler under the eye area, it immediately pulls it and pushes it back up. You don't see that recess. Part of the recess you're seeing is just the shadow of it sinking in. So filling it brings it out. There, look, I will be the first to tell you, because I don't want you wasting money on product. I'll be the first to tell you when product can help, and when you have to say, you know what, it's only going to take me so far. I really need to go the med spa / plastic surgeon route in order to tackle this. Okay? Sometimes you need that advice and that consult to let you know. My friend, who's my dearest doctor friend, Dr. Fred Aguilar, I've done a couple of videos with him on this channel. You know, he'll tell me when. He'll tell me when, no, you don't need this, or it's time. You know, you've exercised all your other options. So you need somebody who you can trust in that respect. Okay, next question from Kathy. Any good products for eye bags? I've tried Sudden Change 3-minute under eye serum, nothing. I know plastic surgery is the only solution. Even a dermatologist told me that. See, you've got to trust those doctors who will tell you when to say when. So it depends on what's causing those bags. Is it lifestyle? Is it diet? Are you smoking too much, drinking too much, eating salty food? That could be a huge contributor to the water retention in your face. Are you sleeping too flat? Are you not elevated enough to allow that fluid to drain? In those cases, things like making diet and lifestyle changes can be huge. Changing how you sleep. In the morning, using those green tea bags to help cool cucumber, frozen peas in a bag to help reduce swelling. You know, vitamin C type things. You know, try as best as you can with your natural remedies and your homeopathic remedies, but in some cases, eye bags are genetic, and there's a hereditary component going on there, and there is nothing that you can do, even if you're living clean and doing all of this stuff, to get rid of them. And that's when it's time to say uncle and to go into your local plastic surgeon and see what your options are in that area. There's all kinds of laser treatment. There's so many new things on the horizon that can be done, that can help while preventing you from possibly having to go under the knife. So those are avenues and areas to explore. But sometimes we spend so much money on creams and potions, hundreds of dollars over the years, that add up to thousands of dollars. And before you know it, you could have had a laser treatment or two, or you actually could have had your eyes fixed. Like I said, that's for you to figure out when and what. Next question. Any procedures done on your neck, and if so, what? Just the Botox. I did try the Botox hit all the way around, and it really helped to soften my neck, because I've got thin skin on my neck, and when you have a lower percentage of body fat, all of these bands and muscles and things pop out. So for me, that helps to soften the area so I don't look like a banjo you can play. Ding ding. Next one. Any tips on age spots for face, arms, and legs? And what do you use on your legs so pantyhose are not needed? Okay, age spots on face, arms, and legs. There are, for instance, brightening creams. Vitamin C cream has been known to help that, but again, it depends on how much and where. Niacinamide is another ingredient that's been known to fade age spots. So you can try with products that have those ingredients, but hands down, I felt the best treatment for that was the IPL laser. And I did a video on that for you because, see, I'm transparent. I had spots everywhere, spots all over my chest, all over my arms, and I did 2 IPL treatments, and I honestly could not get over the difference in my skin. The other thing is, when it comes to spots, prevention ultimately is the key, so that you don't have to go through all of this. So mineral-based natural sunscreen is where I go. Cover it up. I use the Color Science brush-on sunscreen for my face if I don't want a sticky feeling. Sunscreen my arms and my chest whenever I go outside because I'm so happy with my spot-proof look. I will do anything not to get them back. And then what to use so you don't use pantyhose. Self-tanner is amazing. And then I will use, there's a Sally Hansen spray-on. It's like a spray-on pantyhose, and it just gives your legs a little bit of color. It's like makeup for your legs. It dries, it doesn't smear or smudge. Next one, please tell me your all-time favorite foundation for summer, and why don't you put mascara on your lower lashes? I'm 53, I need a new foundation for my dry skin. Summer, when I'm not working, I give my skin a break. And so if I want a moist, dewy, but a color on there and a little bit of a finish and coverage, to me, BB creams and CC creams are the best. The added bonus is most of them come with an SPF inside them of 25, 30 or higher. Look for a good BB or CC cream that gives you good coverage. It's going to give you that nice, moist look. To me, it's a great summer go-to for that. Why do I not put mascara on my lower lashes? Because I'm doing everything I humanly can to prevent things from moving south. And so when you emphasize lashes on the lower, it draws the eye down. It creates a droopier eye, and we're trying to create lift. I will put eyeshadow on my bottom lash, not a dark one, usually a medium shade eyeshadow that I'll smudge right there in my lash line, but all mascara, falsies, everything up. Creates a wonderful lift to the eye. It's a wonderful opening look, and it's actually it creates a more youthful look. It's not as aging as doing mascara on both the top and the bottom lashes. Let's see. Erica, hello. I watched your video on your hair keratin treatment and wondered if you're still getting those. How do you feel about them? Keratin, yes. In fact, I'm going in for a color touch-up, and I am going to follow it with keratin. I need it. I have curly, frizzy, Brillo pad hair. I know it's hard to believe, but yes, I do. And I want to make sure that whatever treatment I use is formaldehyde free. So I'm a stickler on that too. But it's very helpful for me, and it really makes my life easier in the summer, especially if I'm on vacation. I don't want to go through the full blow dry and the straightening. I can just take the blow dryer, shake, 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 let it go. My hair is smooth and silky and wonderful. I can't say enough about it. It's been incredibly helpful. Funny that you asked, because I'm getting it done on Friday, the day after this video airs. Next one, this is by Sally. As you grow out your pixie hairstyle, do you go in for trims or do you just let it all grow? Recently, my hair guy passed away. Oh, I'm sorry. And I'm considering letting it grow in some more. What are your tips and tricks? My hair is fine, probably not as thick as yours. Surprise, surprise, I don't have thick hair. I have very fine hair, just a lot of it, but it's not thick. If you were to grab a little ponytail, you'd be saying, what, that's it? Yeah, that's it. You have 2 options when growing in a pixie. You can let all the layers come in, which will then create a shad look, which will then sort of translate to sort of a Lisa Rinna shag, okay, which is super cute and fun. That's if you just let it all come in. If you want to grow it into more of a bob, what you have to do, and I think that's kind of where I'm going, because I've got these guys, you know, now down to about here. So if you want to do a bob, you start letting the front and the sides come in, and you keep bringing up the back. So this comes in, this still comes up. So you're still going to look like you've got a short haircut for quite a while, because you're constantly bringing up the back to meet the front. But when these guys start to get long enough where they're past the back, then you can let all of that come in, and then you've got a nice bob. So it's really your choice as to how you want to let it grow in. You definitely need to trim your hair. If you go too long, your hair is going to get damaged and look dingy, and you don't want that in the grow out process. But do a micro trim. I mean, I've done a video. I did DIY micro trim during the whole stay-at-home order, and you can literally go around the areas that are most sensitive around your face and your head and just sort of lift, pull, and take off at just 1/4 of an inch, and you'd be amazed how much healthier your hair looks, and you didn't have to go to the salon to do that. Carla says, how do you get such white teeth? I've had people ask me, who does your veneers? I said, God, because it's true, they're my teeth. These are mine. I don't have veneers. I did have braces when I was younger. And I do whiten, but just with whitening toothpaste. And I have these trays. If I really want to kick a whitening, I use these opalescence trays that are kind of soft. And you put them in and you suck, and then you pull out the trays, and it just leaves this little clear white film around your teeth. Leave it on 20 to 30 minutes, and it really gives a boost. But just, I mean, I'm using Hello Charcoal Whitening Toothpaste. That's it. That's all I do. But these are my teeth, my chompers. Okay, so the next grouping here is parenting and relationships. Could you talk about divorce, how you moved past and forward? Was it contentious or amicable? Thank you. That's from Nancy. My experience was, it had everything. I mean, it had fair and decent moments, and it had tough moments. It had amicable moments and contentious moments. It just did, because there's pain. There's a lot of pain in the beginning. I think if two heads can come together and say, in our case, a shared child, can say, look, you know, no matter what happened, no matter the past, we've got to think about now and the future, and that's our kid. How are we going to best co-parent to take care of this child and to make him feel safe, to make him feel loved, to make him feel whole? And so that, if you can do that and put the kids first and have a unified front in terms of how you're parenting your child or children, that's everything. Because children need to feel that trust and that security and that consistency. There's nothing worse when there are one set of rules at one house and one set of rules at the other house, and then there's this back and forth and manipulation and what to expect, and it creates a lot of anxiety for children. I think divorce is just to get away from the emotionality, get away from trying to punish somebody or teach them a lesson, move forward and just, you know, put what matters first. And that usually, in most cases, would be family and children. But it was a process. It wasn't easy. It didn't happen overnight. But, you know, I'm happy to say that my ex and I co-parent equally, and we have the same goals in mind. And when we communicate about our child, and, you know, inquire also about other family members. And it's, you know, in a very good place, which is great. It's what you want. Next question is, this is from Caroline. I'm a single mama of a sassy 12-year-old girl. How long should I wait before introducing her to somebody that I'm dating? I would say this. Wait. Wait. Wait until you have trust and confidence and faith in that relationship and where it's going. Not to say that there are any guarantees that the relationship is going to go somewhere. You have no guarantee of that. But the last thing you want is for your 12-year-old, and by the way, 12-year-old girls tend to pull mom off of the pedestal at around that age. That's the age when children really start to see flaws and faults in their parents, girls especially with their mothers. So you already have a girl who's looking at you with a critical eye. That's where that sass is coming from. You don't want to add to that. You don't want to bring in the revolving door of men, right? And what kind of a lesson is that going to teach her as she is now approaching middle school and her questions about relationships and sexuality? So I would say be wise about it. Be slow about it. Be slow as molasses. Take your time. There's no rush. But if you have a lot of trust in this gentleman, if you feel safe, if you feel like he would be a good person to be around your 12-year-old, and you feel like the relationship has the potential to go somewhere, then yes, absolutely, slowly bring him into the equation. Not too much, little by little. Next question. Did you ever get backtalk or sass from your child or any of your bonus kids? And if so, how do you deal? I got a house full of teenagers. Of course there's backtalk and sass. We're swimming in it. Funny though. I will get it more from my son, just like Nick will get it more from his kids. There's something interesting about being a bonus parent. There's more of a desire to please. I don't see it as much from his children, like he doesn't see it as much from my son. How do we handle it? Well, you know, we have a dialogue about it and a list of expectations. So if there's backtalk or sass from my son, I'll say, I don't appreciate being spoken to that way. I'll ask, you know, what makes you think it's okay to talk to me like that? Do you feel it's going to be effective? Do you really think you're going to get what you want when you talk to me like that? And he usually is no. So I said, all right, let's start again. What is it that you're aiming for here, and how can you better articulate that? What words can you use to be more respectful in how you communicate that? So we kind of erase the chalkboard and we start again. If it continues, then I will just say, look, I don't appreciate this. There's no need for this. And just like I expect you to tend to your room and have personal care responsibility, I also expect you to treat me and others fairly. And if I see you're not doing that, then there will be consequences. And the consequence could either be you're not going to get your allowance, or you may not be able to go out, or whatever. So I highly consider you to think about how you're speaking right now, and then just leave. Sure enough, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, comes down, sorry, hug. You know, it's all in the approach. I don't raise my voice and I don't engage at all. And I just try to work my way through it. Another thing that I've done that's been very effective is if I'm in a room and suddenly a teenager walks in and doesn't acknowledge me, which is usual and typical of teenage behavior, is to walk in like this, you know, not take in the environment whatsoever. So I'll say, hey, how's it going? How's your morning? Or did you sleep well? Me? Oh, I slept great. I had the best night's sleep ever. What am I going to do today? I don't know, I haven't really thought about that yet. And so I start playing little games, and then they realize what I'm doing, and I see a smile and they'll say, hi, good morning, how are you? So instead of the beat down and saying, why are you being a typical teenager, and why can't you get that head out of that phone, and why won't you make eye contact? I just sort of flip the script on how I'm going to do it, and I try to bring about humor in the process. Next question. We too are a blended family. Do you have words of wisdom for all blended families to make life smoother? Our 4 kids are grown and we made it, but we want to pass along how to have peace and joy. Yes, and I think this is whether you're a blended family or not, and that is, there has to be a unit, a parental unit, working from the same play page in order to be effective. And so I remember when Nick and I came together and we talked about it, and I said, I really think we need to kind of come up with a plan here, a list of how to behave in this house, a list of expectations, write it down, give everybody a copy, and post it to the refrigerator. So it's the house rules. How are we as a unit going to function? And again, children need to see that the parent team is a unified front, because if they see any kind of not level, not evening up, they will use that and manipulate and go from one to the other, and it's a nightmare. That was the thing that we did. We sat down and we said, hey, you know, we are so full of love, and we are so grateful to have all of you under this roof. Your happiness is our priority, but we want to be happy too, and this is how we make that happen. And so we listed out. House rules are about respect of people and respect of environment. We treat each other with respect, and we treat our property with respect. And then you go through and you figure out and decide what that looks like to you and how you want to get specific with each of those things. Really helpful. We would always reference that in terms of expectations and in terms of punishment. It's all there. I think having it in writing for kids is super critical. Next one. Hi, Dominique. You and Nick have, I'm looking for my drink, I'm so thirsty. And it's gone. You and Nick have such a solid relationship, and I can see so much love between you and what you share. Do you feel you have to keep things interesting and new some of the time, or is just being enough? I guess I'm asking if you still have to work at your relationship. Obviously, 2 people have to work together to keep a relationship. Yes, you do. Being alone isn't going to cut it, because what happens is you get lost in the being. You get lost in the day-to-day, getting dressed, going out to work, doing this, doing that, and before you know it, you haven't had time to connect intimately as a couple. So it's looking for those moments and those ways. And you know, Nick is always sweet to send a loving text, and I know how much he loves and appreciates just a quick little, hey, I'm thinking about you, I love you, kissy emoji, all of that. It breaks up his day. He could be in the middle of a stressful business meeting, and in comes that text, and it just is like, oh, that's so good. So little things like that, little gestures, or carving out. You've got to carve out alone time together, time to just be a couple, whether it's going to a restaurant or taking a trip or going to see a movie together. Be a couple, touch each other, hold hands, be intimate, remind each other of things from the past. All of that is so important. You have to be present and an active player in a relationship. The minute you take a back seat, then you become a victim of what happens to you. And nobody wants to be a victim. Stay in the game and think of great ways to keep your relationship alive and fresh. Dominique, love your positive heart and nature and how you inspire us to become the best that we can be. Since the pandemic, I see in my face the signs of stress and aging that appeared over the last 3 months. What are your thoughts on face exercises and yoga, and does it work? Creams and serums can only do so much. We carry the world's worries, and not on our shoulders, but on our faces. And I would say on our shoulders too. Thank you very much. If you're feeling the weight of the world on your shoulder and in your face, then it sounds to me like you need to practice some self-care. And can I first start by saying you're worth it? I don't know what's going on in your life, but you are worthy of time to take care of yourself and whatever that looks like. So it could be a hot soak in a bath with a face mask on and some candles and music playing. It could be signing up for a yoga class. And by the way, I've never known anybody to be fit and not have a fit face. So if you're practicing your fitness and you're doing strength training, your face will bounce back and snap into shape too. What I like about yoga, as I mentioned before, it's the combination of the physical intensity as well as the rest and the relaxation. I get all of it. But make sure that you're doing what you can to relax. Carve out time to read a book that inspires you, gives you some information, some insight, food for thought. But that self-care is everything. I don't, really sit there and do A-E-I-O-U and all these kind of facial stretches and muscles, because I know if I'm physical and doing what I need to do, all of those things happen anyway. But when you're stressed, you need to move. You've got to be physical. You've got to push yourself in that area. I know it's the hardest thing. I know it's the last thing you want to do. You're tired. You've probably eaten the wrong foods. Now you're not feeling your best. You're thinking the last thing I want to do is put on Lycra. Do it. Do it. Get out there. Even if it's starting to walk or run in your neighborhood or get on your bike, do it. Exert yourself. It's contagious and it transcends. So please take care of yourself. Okay, so that was parenting and relationships. Now we're going into random questions. Dominique, with all due respect and no judging, where were you born and raised? I know you're American, but what's your nationality and where are your roots from? No judgment. We can ask each other where we're from. We can't. Yeah, the last thing I want is for us to be scared to ask people, what's your place of origin? Born in America, born in Miami, grew up in Houston. My father was from Hamburg, Germany, and my mother grew up on the East Coast, Philadelphia, New York, New Jersey area. Her family came to this country from the Ukraine. So we recently did DNA testing, and my mother's side was all Ukraine, Russian Federation, Belarus, that whole area. My father's side, obviously Germany, but there was also British Isles in there, a little bit of Spain. So it was kind of an interesting mix. But yes, so I'm half German and part Russian. So that's my background. Melinda asks, what's your advice on dealing with gossip and unkind behavior, whether it's directed toward you or others? Stay out of it. You will never change people's opinions about you, nor should you even waste 1 ounce of effort and energy in trying to do so. Newsflash, people are not going to like you. It just is the way it is. Not everybody's going to like me. Not everybody's going to like how I look, what I do, what I say. It's just life. And if I were to sit there and try to spend my time on trying to convert these people or make them feel otherwise, then I'm completely negating me and the rest of the folk who are very happy and content with who I am and what I'm doing. You can only take care of yourself, and all that matters is what you think of you. Period. What you think of you. Are you happy with yourself? Are you proud of yourself? Are you proud of your decision making and how you look and how you feel and how you operate? Your opinion about yourself is all that matters. Don't look at the rest. Don't give it an ounce of thought. If you see it on your social media feed, delete. That's what I do. There's the power of the delete button. If it's nasty and ugly, I'm sorry. I got no space and place for you. Delete. Take care of yourself. Don't cloud your brain with other people's thoughts. So simple. ignore it. And if it's happening around you, ignore it. Don't engage. If you're in a group and people start talking about other people, just kind of step back and say, excuse me, I need to go tend to something. Stay out of it. And before you know it, people are going to realize you're not one of those who's going to get in on the gossip. Stay out of it. Nothing good ever comes from it. Linda asks, we know you love Audrey, my favorite, but who else do you consider to be consistently stylish among the female celebs over 50 and why? I've got two people. One is not over 50. She's 44. Charlize Theron is exquisite in my book. Love seeing her at the Oscars and the awards ceremony. You know, her hair, you know, she's one of the few in Hollywood who just kills the short hair look. So I love her for that. She's always an inspiration for me in that respect. But the way she dresses, it's such elegance. The way she carries herself. I mean, she's gorgeous to look at. So Charlize Theron, number one, even though she's 44. But my next choice is 61, hard to believe, Angela Bassett is another style icon. She's a knockout. She's so smart. I admire her for the conviction that she has in the roles that she chooses. She chooses roles that speak to her. They're primarily based on real life people, real life stories. That's what matters to her, and I honor and I salute her conviction in that. She's a great actress. She's also remarkably stunning and stylish and classy at 61. So what a great role model too. And Nina says, what are you reading these days? And Angelique says, best self-help books. What would you recommend? So I'm going to throw it all together. What am I reading these days? So at nighttime, as I'm getting myself to sleep, I'm reading this book called Breath, The New Science of a Lost Art. And just to summarize, it's by James Nestor, and I'll just read one little sentence for you. No matter what you eat, no matter how much you exercise, how skinny or young or strong you are, none of it matters if you're not breathing properly. And it goes into the science of breathing and how people have been able to cure and heal and do all kinds of remarkable things with the power of breath. And it goes back to consciousness again. Instead of just being, we don't think about our breath unless we actually focus on it. I focus on it in my yoga class. That's when I'm really, really working my breath. And it's quite remarkable as I'm learning what our breath does, how we breathe through the nose, through the mouth, the health risks, the implications, and the ability to heal. So it's a fabulous read. That's what I'm reading now. Other self-help. This will also help you in terms of a lot of the questions that you asked. One of my favorite books of all time, and such a great title, by Dr. Christiane Northrup, Goddesses Never Age. Such a good read, and it tackles everything. A lot of hormones, health, wellness, passions, things like that. The secret prescription for radiance, vitality, and well-being. Remember this, you have the power to be an ageless goddess and to be a living, breathing embodiment of joyful, ageless living no matter what has gone before. And then speaking of hormones, I mentioned her before, my dear friend, Dr. Barbie Taylor, who started a YouTube channel quite a few years ago. She has such a wealth of information and such a database of menopause-related topics. Not just menopause, but also heart disease, bone density. She covers the gamut. She has a book called Menopause, Your Management, Your Way, Now and for the Rest of Your Life. Barbara Taylor, MD. So her channel is Menopause Taylor. Like I said, when you look in the description portion of this video, you will see links to everything that's been mentioned here. But those are my reads, and these things help me tremendously. We're almost done, I promise. Promise. Linda, hi Dominique from Massachusetts. What about hobbies? I was thinking lately about getting back into photography and upgrading my camera. Do you have any hobbies like knitting, painting, jewelry, making, etc.? I think it's a great time for a lot of us to get our creative juices flowing. What are your thoughts? Yes, yes, and yes. I'm big on hobbies. Hobbies are huge. We all had hobbies when we were kids, and then we became adults, and what? No hobbies anymore? Are you kidding me? We still have all this creativity. We have all of this to explore. And who knows, you may discover something new in the process. A hobby that I have now that I didn't have when I was a child is gardening. I love to garden. You've seen my videos. I upload pictures. It's my happy place. I love being creative in that way. I too love photography. I love the creative process of that. So please pick up a hobby, especially now if you've got time. Think about what it is you like to do and just do it. You would be amazed at how much it stirs your heart and your soul at the same time. So yes. Liliana says, tips and tricks to practice being so well articulated when doing a video. I know you partially covered this in an old video, but you talked generally about how to speak well, avoid words like. What I'm referring to is the pros techniques for practicing sounding so natural, and yet avoiding things like while you're trying to come up with the next word. So here's a really good technique to help you with that. Get your camera, put it on video record mode, and record yourself. And then ask yourself a big question, a big one that will take you a while to answer. Something like, tell me about your career path. And then I want you to sit there and look at that camera, and I want you to speak as if you're being interviewed about your career path. And then afterwards, I want you to play it back. And then listen. How many times did you say, What was the thing that happened the most? Too many uhs? Too many pauses? Any likes in there? Notice the first thing that stood out to you. If it's write down on a little sticky note, stick it next to that phone, ask yourself another question that's going to require a lengthy answer, look at that sticky note to remind yourself, no more ahs, and then try to answer that next question. And keep going, and it's practice. Keep going and going until you have kind of whittled down and gotten rid of all of those bridges and catchphrases and things that help to get you from one thought to another that's just sort of buying time and can be very repetitive and redundant. So practice and listen to yourself and watch yourself. Scary, I know, but it'll help. Oh my goodness. How long and simply, how are you editing your weekly videos? What kind of technical devices are you using? Do you do it yourself? Yeah, I do it myself, and I've just been editing on simple iMovie. I've been threatening to learn Final Cut Pro or one of these softwares that have more capabilities because I love editing. I love the creative process. I honestly just have not had the time to sit there and learn a new software. So I'm just doing the easy peasy iMovie because I can edit that in a heartbeat. Love to edit videos, love to find funny moments, things to highlight and all of that. And I shoot everything. I've got the camera. I do it all. I'm a one-woman band. Darren says, hi Dominique, if you were not in broadcast journalism and money was not a factor, what career would you love to have? That's probably one of the toughest questions to answer because I knew so early on what I wanted to do. I was 15 when this epiphany happened. So I really never had a chance to explore other potential talents or crafts or careers. There's a part of me that would like to dabble in acting only because I'm a total ham and I love role-playing and characters, and I think there are so many great juicy roles, and I wonder what that would feel like, channeling that through me. So there's a part of me that would really like that. I was always very good at math, and I always had an interest in design, so I wonder if maybe there was a engineering, architectural component to my personality. My father was a naval architect, so I don't know. Good question. I love photography. I obviously love style. Could I have been a hairdresser? Probably. Am I? Kinda, yeah. Makeup artist? Yeah. Own my own video production company? Sure. So all kinds of things, but I guess those sort of connect to what it is that I do now. Last one, by Esther. Have you ever considered stepping back from journalism and doing what you do in your videos full time? I think you'd be a phenomenal stylist and life coach. Oh, there you go. I should have thrown in life coach. Dang it. Esther, funny you should ask. I have been a news anchor now for 26 years. That's a mighty long time. And it's been a mighty great and blessed career. Amazingly so. But it's coming to its end. My choice, just so you know, my choice. You know, I don't, hard to answer. I don't know how much longer, but I don't think it's going to be hugely longer. I love what I do here. I love being able to convey this message, to be available to this group. And the thought of being able to develop more content, different content in different types of ways, different messaging excites me. So I do want to make time and make more room for this and see where it all leads. So to answer your question, yes, one thing will be winding down at some point. while the other will be firing up even more so. So I'm happy to tell you that. I'm not going anywhere. I'm not leaving this platform. And if anything, I just want to grow what it is that I'm doing and to be effective and to be helpful and purposeful. It's the most important thing for me. So the end. Let me button this up by saying I do not sell wigs through a wig company. It's so frustrating that I even have to say that, but I do. You guys are so sweet and diligent. You constantly send me images of wig companies using my image, and they do so fraudulently. They don't have my permission. I don't sell wigs. I am not at all involved with these companies. I have, in fact, hired an attorney, and we have gone through the process of trying to shut them down, but here's how slimy they are. They'll shut down, and then a few months later, they'll relocate, they'll open back up, and they'll do the same thing all over again. It's like playing whack-a-mole. Bam, you get one down, boop, another one pops up. So at some point, I just have to consistently get the message out there. Don't fall victim to it. They are scum. They are slime on scum. There's no other way to put it. Please don't purchase. If you have, call your bank, call your credit card company, explain what happened, and ask for a refund, report the company. It's the best we can do. Anyway, those are the answers to all your questions. This probably will be like the hour-long therapy video that I just did. I think we went an hour or so. And what I'll do is I'll put some time codes in since these were in groups. You know, if you're not interested in one part of it, but maybe the other, I can put time codes to help guide you where it is. You know, time is of the essence. I would love to think that you'd like to spend this much time with me, but it might be a little too much. At any rate, I really wanted to get to the questions where a lot of you were interested, and I hope and I think we tackled them. I'm losing my voice. I'm going to go have something to drink and a dinner. Thank you for being with me tonight. It's an honor to receive such questions, the depth of your questions, and that you trust me with the answer. So I am eternally grateful for you. I hope you know that. I hope you feel it. I want you to feel it. Go out, be bold, and be blessed this week. Love seeing you on Thursdays, and we have a date next Thursday at 1 o'clock. Bye.